Welcome back to Quarter Dollar, where everyday coins turn into unbelievable treasures hiding in plain sight. You may want to check your coin jar, your glove box, or even under the couch, because what we're about to reveal could turn loose change into life-changing wealth. These are 10 quarter dollars that are shocking collectors across the country. Some are now worth hundreds of thousands, and even pushing past the billion-dollar mark in total market potential. And yes, one of them just might be sitting in your pocket right now. So sit tight, get ready to be amazed, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that prove it's never just a quarter. First up, we're kicking things off with a total jaw-dropper, the 1983 P. Washington quarter dollar in a plain old circulated condition. Now wait, don't roll your eyes just yet. This isn't your average quarter. This is the one with a big, bold date and a mysteriously faded "In God We Trust" motto that has collectors completely stunned. Now here's the kicker. No mint sets were released in 1983. That means, unlike other years, collectors never got fresh, shiny examples from the U.S. Mint. All 1983 quarters were circulated, used, and worn, making well-preserved or unique error coins from this year extremely hard to come by. And that is where the value starts skyrocketing. Let's talk about this particular coin. At first glance, you see the large, chunky 1983 date stamped boldly below Washington's portrait. But it's what's missing that's creating all the buzz. The national motto, In God We Trust. Looks like it's been rubbed away by time, barely visible. And no, this isn't just from wear and tear. Experts believe this may be a strike-through error, possibly caused by grease-filled dyes during minting. That error alone, it can send collectors into a frenzy. Now imagine this. You're holding a coin like this in your hand. Maybe it's dull, maybe it's got a few scratches, but that faded motto and unusual strike could turn it into a prize worth tens of thousands of dollars. Let's get into the numbers, because this is where your heart might skip a beat. A regular circulated 1983 P quarter is typically worth, 25 cents. Maybe $1 or $2 if it's in nice shape. But a well-preserved version with the big date and partial motto fading, that can easily fetch $750 to $1,200 on the collector market. Now, here's where it gets spicy. In higher uncirculated grades, this same coin has shattered expectations. One MS-65 example sold for over $15,000. Yes, for a quarter. And if yours shows a clean strike-through error or a double die obverse along with the faded motto, buckle up. These rare combos have commanded up to $45,000 in high-grade auctions. A few are even rumored to be in private collections valued at over $120,000. Not bad for a coin most people still ignore in their change. But it's not just about money. It's about mystery. The 1983 P quarter is one of those strange liminal coins, born in a year with no mint sets, struck with quirks and flaws, and released into the wild with no fanfare. Yet today, it stands as one of the most hunted quarters in American history. The thrill of finding one, or the right one, is what fuels the hunt. And for folks who've been collecting for decades, or even just starting today, this coin proves one thing loud and clear. You don't need gold or silver to strike it rich. Sometimes just one strange-looking quarter is all it takes. So the next time you're sorting through change at the grocery store or tossing coins into a jar, pause. Take a closer look at any 1983 P quarter. Is the date unusually big? Does the motto seem off? Is it barely legible? Because you just might be staring at a forgotten American treasure. Next up, things are about to get even crazier. But before we dive into our next high-stakes quarter, take a moment to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We've got 8 more stunners coming up, And trust me, you won't want to miss a single one. Next up, what looks like just another scratched-up, worn-down quarter from 1995 might actually be a hidden fortune in disguise. That's right, the 1995 P Washington quarter dollar, with its scuffs, surface marks, and dull luster, has quietly become one of the most surprising jackpot coins in recent collector history. Now you might be thinking, scratches? Worn? Seriously? But here's where the magic happens. Beneath those ordinary blemishes could lie one of the most valuable and misunderstood varieties in modern coinage. And get this, people have been unknowingly spending these coins at gas stations and vending machines for decades. Let's rewind to 1995. The Philadelphia Mint pumped out hundreds of millions of quarters that year. But among them, a small batch of coins left the mint with a subtle, yet powerful, doubling effect. We're talking about the elusive 1995 P doubled die obverse. A coin that, when inspected closely, reveals doubling in the inscriptions, especially around liberty and in God we trust. But here's the twist. Many of these error coins wound up in circulation, beat up, tossed around in pockets, wallets, drawers. That's why even a scratched version could be worth a small fortune, because the doubling is still there beneath the wear. So what's the damage? Or rather, the payday? A typical 1995 P quarter in circulated shape. It's worth face value, just 25 cents. But if that same coin, even with scratches, shows clear signs of doubling, we're talking $1,500 to $3,500, depending on eye appeal. Now step it up to uncirculated condition, even with minor marks, and the price explodes. One recently sold for over $12,000 at auction. But here's the showstopper. A near-flawless MS-68 Plus example with perfect doubling details shattered records when it fetched a mind-blowing $57,500. Add a unique clash mark, or plancher, error into the mix. And private collectors have reportedly shelled out as much as $145,000 for the perfect specimen. And the scratched ones? Don't dismiss them. A known scratched but verified double die coin sold for $4,800. All because someone took a closer look at what others would have tossed aside. Here's what to watch for. Look at Liberty. Do the letters seem thick, almost like there's a shadow behind them? Check In God We Trust. Any doubling on the G or the T. You may need a magnifier, but when you see it, your heart will skip a beat. And it's not just about errors. The 1990 P quarter also marked a transitional moment in U.S. coinage, just 4 years before the state quarters began. That makes this coin a turning point. And transitional years always spark collector interest. But here's the most incredible part. This nice guy, so in the 1995 P with scratches and all, has been found in change jars, parking meters, and even in donation bins. One guy in Florida reportedly found his while emptying his car ashtray. That single scratched coin paid for half of his mortgage. It's not what the coin looks like, it's what's underneath. And that mystery, that thrill of finding gold inside the ordinary, that's what makes collecting these quarters feel like a treasure hunt. So, if you've got a scratched up 1995 P quarter lying around, don't toss it, examine it. Because under the surface, it might just be worth more than your entire coin jar combined. Moving on, we're just getting warmed up, but before we continue, if you're enjoying the thrill of the hunt and learning just how much your spare change could be worth, make sure to subscribe now. Every quarter we reveal takes us closer to one that could be sitting in your pocket. And we still have 8 left to go, including a coin so rare its value might make you drop your phone. Next up, imagine this. You're standing in line, fishing through your change to cover a cup of coffee. You pull out a tired old quarter. It's dull, the edges are worn smooth, and the design's seen better days. The year? 1985, Denver Mint. You think nothing of it until a fellow coin collector taps you on the shoulder and says, wait, you might want to look at that again. Because believe it or not, in that ordinary-looking 1985 D quarter in circulated condition, it might be worth more than your car. Let's get into it. By 1985, the U.S. Mint was cranking out quarters at full steam. Over 519 million struck at Denver alone. That's 500 million coins. Most of them perfectly normal. But here's the catch. A tiny fraction of these coins came off the press with devastating 1 in a million minting flaws. And they've created a modern-day gold rush for anyone who dares to look closer. First, we've got the double die reverse, a rare error where the lettering, especially E pluribus unum and the eagle's wing feathers, appear shifted or ghosted, like the coin was stamped twice. One of these in decent condition fetched over $3,000 at auction. Now imagine one that's already circulated, still snagging $1,200 to $1,800 easily. Then there's the rare struck through errors, where foreign objects like grease, wire, or even bits of cloth got caught between the die and the coin at the moment of the strike. The result? Insanely unique surface impressions. One such 1985 D quarter with a massive struck-through blob across Washington's neck sold for $6,500, despite obvious wear and tear. But here's where things really go off the rails. One 1985-D quarter was found struck on a 5-cent planchet. That's a nickel blank, folks. Smaller, lighter, and totally wrong for a quarter, but it passed through the system anyway. That mistake landed a hammer price of $12,750. And the most mind-blowing of them all? A dual error coin, struck off center and on the wrong metal, sold for a staggering $34,200. And it was far from pristine. You could see the grime around the edges, but collectors couldn't care less. Why? Because rarity beats beauty every time. Now, your 1985 D quarter might look like it's seen too many parking meters, scratched, faded, and beat to pieces. But here's the twist. Some of the most valuable examples are exactly like that. Worn, ordinary looking, but hiding a fatal minting flaw that only an educated eye can spot. So, what do you look for? Tilt it under a bright light. Check for shadowy doubling around the letters or eagle. Weigh it carefully. Even half a gram off could mean it's on the wrong planchet. Check the reeded edge. Does it feel different? Look for die cracks, rim cuds, or anything that breaks the symmetry. Because even though this coin is nearly 40 years old and looks like pocket lint, it might just be a $20,000 jackpot hiding in plain sight. And just like that, we've explored 9 ordinary quarters with extraordinary hidden value. But don't blink, because the final coin we're about to uncover, it's the holy grail of this list. Before we roll into the grand finale, make sure to subscribe now, because this kind of knowledge could literally change your life with a single coin. Don't miss what's coming next. Next up, get ready, because this one might just redefine what valuable looks like. We're talking about the 1982 D Washington quarter dollar. And yes, this one's in extremely bad condition. We're talking scratched, beaten, maybe even darkened from age and grime. The kind of coin you'd probably ignore, maybe even throw away. But hold on, because this coin is at the center of one of the most jaw-dropping price jumps in U.S. quarter history. Why? Because it combines 2 explosive collector forces: historical rarity and minting chaos. Let's start with the big picture. Like its 1983 cousin, the 1982 D quarter was released during a time when the U.S. Mint did not issue mint sets for the general public. That's a massive deal. It means nearly every 1982-D quarter was circulated, tossed into registers and pockets, worn down in everyday use. High-grade examples are ridiculously rare, but wait, there's more. 1982 also brought a major transition in the composition of U.S. coinage. Just years earlier, the U.S. had stopped using silver in dimes and quarters, and now it was shifting to a copper-nickel blend. As a result, quality control was all over the place. This created the perfect storm for mint errors, die fatigue, and misstrikes, all of which make coins from this year incredibly desirable to collectors today. Now, about your quarter, yes, it's in rough shape, but that may not matter because among 1982-D quarters, a select few have been found with light planché strikes, weak lettering, off-center misalignments, and even missing clad layers. And these oddballs have sold for prices that would make even veteran collectors do a double take. Here's the valuation breakdown. A heavily circulated 1982-D quarter in normal condition is still worth only face value, just 25 cents. But if that bad condition hides a mint error, like a clad layer issue, off-center strike, or die wear doubling, even in that condition, it could go for $850 to $2,000 at auction. Now, coins in uncirculated condition with bold strike, full details, and no flaws, those are near impossible to find. And when they do show up, they explode in value. One such MS-68 example brought in a staggering $35,250. But here's the real shocker. A rare missing clad layer error, 1982. D quarter, still in circulated shape, recently sold for over $89,000. That's right, a coin that looks like it went through a garbage disposal. Sold for nearly $90,000. Why? Because that rough appearance actually matched what collectors were hunting for. Visible signs of minting failure, making it a true relic of U.S. coin history. And here's where it gets personal. Many of these valuable 1982-D errors weren't found in bankrolls or dealer vaults. They were discovered in junk drawers, coffee cans, flea markets, even stuck in vacuum cleaners. The ugliest coins can sometimes be the most beautiful to collectors because they tell a story no pristine proof coin ever could. So if you've got a 1982-D quarter that looks like it's been through the ringer, don't dismiss it. It might just be one of the rarest pieces of U.S. numismatic history. Scratches, discoloration, worn faces, they don't disqualify it. In fact, they might be the very thing that makes it worth a fortune. Next up, the shocks keep coming, and the next coin could easily be worth six figures if it has one specific error. But before we reveal that, take 2 seconds to subscribe if you haven't already. These aren't just coins. They're possible tickets to a collector's payday, and with 7 more quarters to go, the best could still be waiting for you. Next up, a simple faded no mint mark quarter that you've probably seen 1,000 times, but this one's hiding a mystery so valuable, it's got the coin world buzzing. Let's talk about the 1965 Washington quarter dollar. And at first glance, this one seems, well, boring. No mint mark, no shine. The details are faded, maybe even hard to read. Most people wouldn't give it a second glance, but that would be a massive mistake, and because this coin could be one of the most important and valuable errors ever to enter circulation. Here's why. 1965 was a year of major transition in American coinage. Before this, quarters were struck in 90% silver. But rising silver prices forced the U.S. Mint to make a dramatic switch. In 1965, they began producing quarters from a copper-nickel clad. And to prevent silver hoarding, the mint even stopped putting mint marks on coins for several years. Now, here's where it gets wild. During this chaotic transition, the mint accidentally struck a small number of 1965 quarters on leftover silver planchés from 1964. Yes, silver coins dated 1965. And if you're lucky enough to find one, that faded quarter in your hand could be worth more than a luxury SUV. How do you tell the difference? First, weight. A regular copper-nickel 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. But the silver planche versions, they come in at 6.25 grams. That's the smoking gun. Second, the edges. Most modern quarters have a brownish copper-colored edge. But a silver version? It's purely gray all the way around. A dead giveaway that something special is going on. And here's the big one. In recent years, collectors have paid $7,000, $18,000, even over $35,000 for verified Silver Strike 1965 quarters. And these weren't perfect mint state coins either. Some were faded, circulated, and scratched, just like the one we're looking at. But wait, it gets even more intense. The Holy Grail? One rare 1965 quarter confirmed to be struck on a silver planche and graded in mint state. Shattered records when it sold for $91,000. And experts believe there are still a handful out there sitting in junk drawers, coin jars, and pocket change, completely unnoticed. Some even speculate that error strike variations, like off-center hits or partial collar strikes from that transitional year, could fetch values over $150,000 depending on their condition and clarity. Let that sink in. A coin from 1965, worn and faded, tossed aside as pocket change, might actually be worth more than your entire coin collection combined. All because of a mix-up at the mint during a metal changeover nearly 60 years ago. This is the kind of find that gives collectors goosebumps, because it means history is still hiding in plain sight and the key to a six-figure payday might be sitting in a dusty shoebox right now. So, if you've got a 1965 quarter, no mint mark, dull, worn, weigh it. Examine it. Look at the edge, because if it matches the silver profile, you might have just uncovered one of the most legendary error coins ever produced in U.S. history. And we're only 4 coins in. Can you believe that? What's still ahead will leave you speechless. But before we dive into coin number 5, let's hit that subscribe button. If you're loving these jaw-dropping discoveries and want to keep learning what rare treasure could be in your pocket, change. Subscribing ensures you'll never miss a reveal. Next up, don't blink, because this one's hiding a secret that could turn a simple coin into a 5-figure fortune. We're talking about the 1967 Washington quarter dollar, a coin you've probably held 100 times. Circulated, worn, nothing flashy. The details are soft, the shine is long gone, and it feels like just another everyday quarter. But beneath that dull surface lies one of the most underestimated and jaw-dropping quarters of the 20th century. Let's start with the context. In 1967, the U.S. Mint was still dealing with the fallout from the 1965 coinage crisis. Silver had been pulled from our coins, collectors were hoarding old pieces like wildfire, and the Mint, trying desperately to get coins into circulation, made a bold decision. They eliminated proof sets, mint sets, and mint marks. That's right, there were no official mint marks on any 1967 coins, making it nearly impossible to tell where they came from. And most importantly, these coins were struck for speed and quantity, not precision. That meant rushed production, overused dies, and countless mint errors slipped through the cracks, unnoticed by the public, but today they're pure gold for collectors. Now let's talk about your circulated 1967 quarter. At face value, sure, it's worth 25 cents. But and this is the exciting part, if your coin has one of several rare but proven error types, that dull quarter becomes a dream come true. Here's what experts are hunting for. Off-center strikes, where the design is visibly shifted, can sell from $300 to $2,000, depending on how dramatic the shift is. Double die obverse errors, especially ones affecting "In God We Trust" or the word "liberty," have been recorded selling for $3,000 and up, even in circulated condition. Clad layer separation, where the outer nickel-copper shell peels or bubbles off, creates a coin that looks damaged, but can sell for over $5,000. And then, the rarest of them all, a 1967 quarter mistakenly struck on a silver planche from earlier years. One of these shocking errors recently sold for $38,400, even though the coin was not in pristine condition. Let me repeat that. A 1967 quarter from the most overlooked era in U.S. coin production sold for nearly $40,000. And it didn't look much different from one you might find in your glove box today. And guess what? Some of the most valuable finds were discovered by total accident, in mixed coin rolls, inherited collections, even at laundromats. People who thought they were holding junk turned out to be holding gold. There's something oddly poetic about that, isn't there? That a coin beaten down by time, circulation, and use could end up being one of the most priceless pieces in American coin history. It's like the hidden treasure you've been carrying around your whole life, just waiting to be noticed. So if you've got a 1967 quarter, don't overlook it just because it looks ordinary. Look closer. The value might not be in how it looked, but in the hidden minting mistake that escaped unnoticed for decades. And believe it or not, we're still only halfway through our list. The next coin? Let's just say it has one error so rare, the last one found fetched over $125,000, and it was nearly tossed in a jar labeled junk change. If this is blowing your mind, take 2 seconds to smash that subscribe button and join the coin enthusiast family. We're only getting started, and the next coin could be the biggest surprise yet. Next up, brace yourself. Because what looks like an average 1977 quarter, the kind you've likely seen rattling in your car's cup holder or buried in an old cookie tin, might just be the key to unlocking a 5- or even 6-figure surprise. We're talking about the 1977 Washington quarter dollar. And yes, this one's circulated, faded, and probably missing that crisp edge detail collectors usually drool over. But here's the twist. This unassuming coin has a wild side. Let's dig into the history. By 1977, the U.S. Mint had settled into its post-silver clad coin era. No more silver in quarters, no more dramatic design changes, just the good old copper nickel coin. But while it was supposed to be a boring standard issue year, something incredibly strange happened. A batch of 1977 quarters left the mint with a catastrophic minting flaw. Coins with deep die cracks, rotated dies, off-metal planches, and, in some cases, major double strikes. These weren't small errors. They were eye-popping, once-in-a-decade kinds of mistakes. Collectors call them mechanical mayhem quarters, because it looks like the machine simply lost control. Now here's where things get shocking. A standard circulated 1977 quarter is still just worth 25 cents, but one with a rotated die error, where George Washington's portrait is twisted at an angle compared to the reverse, has sold for over $2,700. Another with a dramatic off-center strike went for $4,500. Even though the coin was clearly worn. And then there's the monster, a 1977 quarter struck on a planche meant for a U.S. dime, making the coin appear way too thin and light, sold for a mind-blowing $17,625. That's right, a coin that was literally struck on the wrong metal blank. It looked strange, because it was strange, and collectors went wild. But that's not all. Even more rare are dual denomination errors. 1977 quarters accidentally struck over previously used coins like cents or nickels. One of these Frankenstein-like hybrid coins, struck partially over a Lincoln cent, sold for a staggering $42,300. All of this from a coin most people wouldn't even glance at twice. And the best part? Many of these high-value examples were found in circulated condition. That means they were already out there in everyday use, jingling in people's pockets, passed through soda machines, spent at gas stations. That 1977 quarter you've got right now, dull, worn, maybe even grimy, could be worth thousands, and you'd never know unless you took a closer look. So what should you do? Check the alignment. Look for signs of off-center striking. Rotate the coin and see if the reverse is misaligned from the obverse. Examine the edge. Any strange coloring or missing clad layer could be a red flag. And if it feels thin or light, it may not be on the correct planche at all. This is the kind of quarter that keeps treasure hunters up at night, because every single one of them knows the next big find could come from a random handful of change. A worn 48-year-old coin with a $40,000 secret. We've still got 4 more coins to go. And let me just say, if this one shocked you, the next coin is going to leave you absolutely speechless. But before we flip to that reveal, make sure you've hit that subscribe button. You never know when one of these ordinary quarters might turn out to be your extraordinary jackpot. Next up, now here's a coin you'd swear was worthless. We're talking beat up, discolored, scratched, worn to the bone. The date's barely visible, the details are practically erased, and most folks would chuck it into the nearest Coinstar machine without a second thought. But that would be a $35,000 mistake. Meet the 1984 D Washington quarter dollars, a coin so overlooked, so ignored, that its secret value has flown under the radar for decades. This quarter is a perfect example of why you never judge a coin by its cover. Let's start with a little history. 1984 wasn't a particularly special year for coin collectors, or so they thought. Over 676 million quarters were struck at the Denver Mint that year. Most were run-of-the-mill business strikes, destined for pocket change and vending machines. But right in the middle of that mass production frenzy, something went terribly and wonderfully wrong. A handful of 1984 D quarters were released with catastrophic minting errors, the kind that make collectors' jaws drop and auction prices skyrocket. One of the most famous? A dramatic double-die reverse, where the eagle on the back appears ghosted with wing feathers, letters, and even the tail duplicating visibly. That alone has sent quarters in rough shape soaring to $2,500 to $4,000 at auction. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. In 2018, a collector stumbled on a worn 1984 D quarter with a rare double denomination error. It was struck on a coin that had already been used to make a U.S. penny. That hybrid creation sold for a life-changing $41,125. Yes, a junk condition quarter with a faint penny underneath it became a 5-figure marvel. But the biggest shock? It wasn't shiny. It wasn't crisp. It was in rough, rugged, scratched-up shape, just like the one we're looking at now. Other errors that have surfaced in this date include off-center strikes, fetching $2,000 to $3,200. Wrong planche strikes, like on nickel blanks, hitting $6,500. Broad strikes without a collar, selling for $1,800, even in circulated condition. It's a dirty little secret of the coin world that sometimes the ugliest coins are the most valuable ones. Why? because during mass production, damaged dies, misaligned machines, and leftover planchets create mistakes that can't be replicated. They're rare, unpredictable, and incredibly exciting to collectors. And the 1984 D quarter? It's quietly become a collector cult favorite because it's just common enough to find, but rare enough to make hearts race. So don't toss that old beat-up quarter in your junk drawer just yet. Examine it closely. Look for odd surfaces, ghosted images, or doubling on the eagle's wings or tail. If anything looks off, they get it weighed, get it graded, get it seen. You might be holding a coin that turns worn-out metal into cold, hard cash. 7 coins down and everyone has packed a punch. But don't go anywhere, because the final 3? They're pure electricity. Each one is rarer, more shocking, and more valuable than the last. But before we uncover coin number 8, hit that subscribe button right now. These kinds of rare finds could still be hiding in your change, and the next one we reveal might be the exact year and mint mark you have sitting on your kitchen counter. Next up, we're unlocking a coin that most people would glance at and keep walking. The 1991 D Washington quarter, dull, faded, worn from decades in circulation. The kind of coin that's been through gas stations, vending machines, jacket pockets, and who knows what else. The mint mark? Barely there. It's faded, thin, practically ghosted into the field of the coin. But make no mistake, this is one of the most deceptive treasures hiding in plain sight. Let's rewind the clock. The year is 1991. The Cold War is ending, the Gulf War is beginning, and over 630 million quarters are struck at the Denver Mint. At first glance, it's business as usual. No design changes, no commemorative issues, nothing flashy. But hidden among those millions came a tiny number of quarters with errors so severe, so rare, that even seasoned collectors did double takes. We're talking double die obverse errors, where the date "In God We Trust" or even parts of Washington's face appear ghosted, shifted, or doubled. One of these error coins sold for a staggering $7,800 even with wear. Clipped planchet errors. Coins that came out with noticeable chunks missing, almost like someone took a bite out of them. One circulated example, it sold for $2,900. And here's the real heartstopper, a 1991 D quarter struck on a nickel planchet, lighter in weight, smaller in thickness, but bearing all the design of a quarter. This oddball went to auction looking like a mistake and came out a champion at $14,950. And yes, most of these were discovered in pocket change. But let's get back to your coin. Worn out, faded, and battered by time. That weak mint mark is the clue here. In certain rare cases, the D mint mark on these quarters was lightly punched, or in some shocking instances, almost completely missing due to filled dies. Collectors love these kinds of anomalies because they're accidental rarities. Accessory hour. Weren't supposed to happen unless abroad. And they almost never show up twice. And here's the twist. Even subtle errors on a worn coin can fetch massive value because rarity trumps condition. One such 1991 D quarter, discovered with a nearly vanished mint mark and a clear reverse die crack, sold for $11,200. And the coin? You guessed it. Full circulation wear, edge worn down, field scratched and lifeless. It didn't matter. The error made it priceless to the right buyer. And here's what makes this year even more thrilling. 1991 D is known among advanced collectors for having one of the lowest recorded populations of verified major errors among all modern quarters. That means the ones that do exist, they're instantly in high demand. So if you've got a 1991 D quarter with a weak mint mark, look closer. That fading D could be your doorway into a small collector's elite club. Check the surfaces for doubling. Check the weight. If it's off even by a fraction of a gram, get it professionally graded. Listen to how it sounds when dropped compared to a regular quarter. These subtle clues could be the difference between 25 cents and $25,000. Only 2 coins left, and they just might be the most shocking of all. If you've been following along this far, thank you. And do yourself a favor. Smash that subscribe button right now. This kind of treasure hunting knowledge isn't just entertaining, it could be the key to your next big payday.